Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Robbie Rhino, and in today's video I have 4 gameplays for you in the Eastern Alliance Era 2 light tank, the BMP-2. And the reason I have 4 gameplays for you today is because it's the third in the 3-part series on my journey towards the 3rd mark of excellence in this tank. And in today's video you shall be seeing in the 4th and final gameplay the game that I reached the 3rd mark of excellence in this tank. But first up we have Westfield here, and this is the map that I dream of in any light tank, but especially the BMP-2. The capacity to get lots of assistance damage towards the 9-0 line, getting all of that spotting in at the start of the battle is great. You can do a hell of a lot of damage to the enemy team without having to fire your 30mm autocannon or your ATGM launcher. You can just spot out that 9-0 line and that cross towards the north and the bridge, and you can absolutely devastate the enemy if your teammates are firing at what you are spotting. And unfortunately for me, a lot of my team, they're either hanging around the base or they're going up the northwestern flank to the northwest corner, where they're going to be sort of brawling it out in that brawling location. They should still have some side shots into what I'm spotting here on the 9-0 line, but it's not going to work out as I intended for the start of this battle. We got a lovely ATGM there into that T-72, tracking him in the open, but we didn't get any more assistance. And now we've got spotted by the enemy BMP-2, and we're going to use the fantastic mobility of this tank and concealment to get out of harm's way and try and keep our hit points intact. For those of you that haven't watched any of my videos on the BMP-2, I do have sort of tank guide, tank reviews up on my channel, as well as gameplay in this tank and the first 2 videos in this series, and I'll link them at the end of the video for you. If you're wondering why I don't have 2,350 hit points like you could have with the upgraded turret, it's because I didn't have enough silver during the grind, and I just completely forgot that I had unlocked it and that there was another turret module. So I was playing the BMP-2 on hard mode, but I still managed to get the 3rd mark of excellence in the end. But that was stupid of me. I highly recommend getting everything upgraded on this tank, especially the upgraded turret, because those 200 hit points extra could keep you in the game. So for those of you that don't know anything about the BMP-2, in essence, very well concealed, excellent mobility, 30mm autocannon and an ATGM launcher, and you can use the multiple weapon system by holding down the ammo select button and switching between both of your 30mm autocannon and your ATGM launcher without time penalty, and it's a very dangerous tank indeed. In terms of my commander and equipment setup, well, in terms of my equipment, I run the advanced concealment and both pieces of mobility equipment in the form of the advanced powertrain and the traction system to get this mobility as good as possible and to outrun pretty much everything you're going to come across, and especially avoid getting rammed by heavier tanks, because this thing is very light and it doesn't have any armor at all, so definitely watch out for that. In terms of the advanced concealment, just want to boost the concealment rating of this tank as much as possible so I can fire with impunity from bushes. People aren't going to be able to spot me when I fire, and hopefully I can move across the open ground being undetected by the enemy, and that can get you into some pretty funky positions and get you a lot of assistance. And when you get used to playing light tanks, and especially light tanks that have excellent concealment, getting marks of excellence can be a bit of a joy, because it can be quite easy, especially on large open maps like this. And of course, it hasn't quite worked out as I intended in this battle, but we're trying to stay in the fight, keep our vision up for as long as possible, getting the occasional shot in, and hopefully we can push our mark up. In terms of my commander skills, I ran 6th Sense, Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Steady Aim, Rapid Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Camouflage Expertise and Muffled Shot. So 2 concealment commander skills there to help the concealment of this tank and work in conjunction with the advanced optics. And I'm running gun handling skills, including Run and Gun, for moments like this when you want to have accuracy with your 30mm autocannon when you are circling enemy tanks. Unfortunately, we missed the ATGM there on that Stingray because I aim like a noob, but we managed to switch between that and the 30mm autocannon, which is the absolute joy of having that multiple weapon system, and we shred that Stingray, and he subsequently gets taken out as he was causing a bit of a crossfire to my friendly tanks, my 2 friendly heavy tanks down towards the south of the map. So in this game we've picked up 2.4k direct damage and 633 assistance, nowhere near what we need to push the mark up. I'm always aiming for at least 6k combined to hold the mark in this tank roughly, and anything more to push it up. But we've kept in the fight, we've still got 799 hit points, and I'm going to have to use the mobility of this tank, get forwards, get some spotting assistance, and hopefully get some extra direct damage in for myself as well. It's a very close game. It's still one tank in it, 7 versus 6. Fortunately, we do have the extra tank. I've got a line of tanks down the 3 and 4 line waiting for me to spot, so I'm going to go underneath the bridge, come in from an angle I'm hoping the enemies aren't expecting, and I'm going to spot out, sit in a bush, and be very patient, not fire, don't want to give my position away, and I want to spot out towards this 0 line. And as you can see there, we spotted this FV4211 and this Leopard VT2. Lots of hit points there for me to get assistance on, and the temptation to fire here is real. I'm trying to stay as low down on this ridgeline as possible, but also keeping the top of my tank and my viewport on the enemy to spot them. And I'm going to keep them lit so I'm the one getting all of the assistance. And as you can see, it's racking up very quickly here indeed. I'm not going to sit on that ridgeline because you can be seen with the True Vision system, and I'm worried about any of them seeing me and rushing me. I could probably get out of the way, but I want to try and push this combined damage game as high as possible. The temptation there got a little bit too much. We did get an extra 80 GM out there, but fortunately for us, the smokescreen was popped. We did some damage and we're still getting the assistance. Now we're baiting this FV4211 over the ridgeline. He won't have the mobility to chase me, and we're going to go back underneath the bridge and then come up from a different position. And it's all about using your mobility, your concealment to spot from different locations, trying not to do the exact same thing twice, keep the enemies guessing. This has such good concealment if you use a similar setup to me, and such good view range and mobility that on maps like this you should be able to run rings around your opponents. So now we're up to a very nice combined damage indeed. It's just 2 enemy heavy tanks left, and we're going to see if we can get a little bit of extra damage at the end of the game. I wasted a bit of time reversing, hoping to get a shot, thinking this T72 might run out, but he doesn't. So we're going to use our mobility to go in, try and keep concealed until the last very moment, and surprise with a beautiful 80 GM into the ass off this T72, and then finish up with the 30mm autocannon to take him out of the game. And yeah, we finished. We didn't lose a tank since it was 7 versus 6, and played that one very well there at the end, and our teammates supported us in a very nice game indeed. We picked up 4.5k direct damage, 5.3k assistance, we've got a kill, and we also got a profit with or without a premium tank. So that's it for the first gameplay. Let's head on into the second one. So we're now into the second gameplay here on Nomonhan. It's a standard battle, and we're going to race into position and try and spot out towards the western side of the map, where the enemy team will be going into those ridge lines in around D2, D3. And we're going to try and cross as quickly as possible, try not to get detected, try and get set up in a position where it's a shadowy area in foliage, we're sitting in a bush, and making sure we always have an exit plan in place. And the good thing about coming over to this side is that there is a nice dip behind us. We can go down very quickly and able to get out of harm's way. So we're going to rush into position, try and find a nice bush or a nice sort of ridge here where we can poke up and get some extra assistance early doors. We knock down that tree because we don't want to knock it down later when all of the enemy tanks are here and give away our position. And now we're going to sit here using this tree as cover. I had a little bit of a weird kind of, I don't know if it was a lag or a controller issue where I lurched forward. I didn't intend that, but you know, it's working well for us, and it's showing the fantastic concealment of the BMP-2 here as we get 1.2k spotting assistance very, very early on indeed. And we're just going to be able to spot through this foliage. We don't have to poke through right at the moment, and give away our position with the True Vision system. This tree is in a perfect location. We got great view range and concealment, so we should be able to outspot everything across from us. We're going to just poke up, see if we can spot towards the middle for our 4 tanks or 5 tanks that are situated just south of our spawn, and try and get vision to the left and right of us. And it's just being very patient here, trying to get all of the spotting assistance. And when I feel like I can fire and I'm coming up against a tank that is in line with all of the foliage that I'm firing from, to keep the concealment bonus from that foliage, I'm going to get ATGMs in where possible. I'm not going to fire my 30mm autocannon in a position like this and give away my location, because the constant shell tracers do give that away, but a sneaky little ATGM on someone that's not looking, you can usually get away with. We do get spotted there as we retreat. We pop our smoke screen and we're going to use our mobility to escape. And as we're escaping, we are still getting some beautiful assistance on the tanks that are behind us. I'm not sure what I'm doing with my driving here. I should have just got out of harm's way straight away. But the boosted mobility that we've had with the mobility equipment has helped us reverse just quick enough to avoid fire, and then we get a lovely ATGM into that Stingray. Use the hard cover to get out of harm's way, and now we're going to drop down and just rinse and repeat, trying to get as much assistance as possible. So for all of those of you that are wondering what the actual requirement is, the exact requirement, I'll look it up now for you. The BMP-2, to get the 3rd mark of excellence and do it very, very slowly, it's 5.1k damage, or 5,138 damage to be exact. And for 100% mark of excellence, the 4 marks of excellence, if you will, it's 5,409. So yeah, aim for 5.5k and above, and you should be going up slowly, but anything above kind of 7-8k combined will push you up, nearing a percent. It's not quite exact, and of course it does change daily, but that's the approximate amount of combined you need. It's gone up since the BMP-2 was slightly buffed with the multiple weapon system and the firepower and the ability for it. The easiest or the lowest ranked 3 mark you can get in Era 2 in terms of light tanks is the T9250A, which is the T92 from Tier 8 in World War II game mode, but put into Era 2, and it's horrific. It shouldn't be in Era 2. And yeah, to get the 3rd mark of excellence in that is 3.2k combined. So that just shows you the difference in how good the tanks are and how well people are playing the tanks. But maybe I'll do a video on the T92 and see if I can 3 mark that, because maybe that'll be a bit of a weird challenge or interesting to some of you. Let me know in the comments below. But in this particular game here, we've just used this ridgeline to our advantage. If they came over us, we'd bait them over, they'd get shot from the tanks behind us, and we're just constantly getting vision out. With our mobility, we are able to sort of rock backwards and forwards, dip down these dips, and eventually the enemy kind of just forgot to try and combat us, because if they came up after us, they'd have got shot, and if they just waited there for us, they'd be exposing themselves to all of my teammates. And it's all about creating that distraction, that crossfire and that vision, and then later on you can use your hit points to do stupid crap like I'm doing now against this Conqueror. We pop our smoke screen and we're just firing our 30mm autocannon into the smoke there, trying to get as much damage as possible. We get a nice ATGM into that Conqueror, and now we're going to try and run away with our 453 hit points. He does manage to tag us in the rear, but he subsequently gets taken down by the Leopard 1A1 on our team, and we somehow survived that little skirmish at the end. But in that game we picked up 1 kill, we also picked up a first class medal, a profit with or without premium account, finished MVP in that game with 1472 base experience points, 4.9k direct damage and 5.4k assistance. So now we're going to head on into the 3rd game, which is a little higher combined, and then it will be the 4th and final game where I pick up my 3rd mark of excellence. So now we're into the 3rd game and we're back on Westfield. This time we are spawning in the northeastern side of the map, and we're going to race towards the centre, try and spot towards the south at that cross going up the hill and get some assistance early doors. And hopefully this time on Westfield our teammates will be a little bit more helpful at the start of this battle in terms of giving us that spotting assistance. We've already loaded our ATGM. As we head into position, we're going to climb this hill, get into a nice bush and spot towards the south and push my view range as far towards the corners of the map as possible. We spot this FV4 to 11. We're in thick foliage here, so we try and get an ATGM on top of his sort of engine deck in his hull there. Doesn't quite work out. We don't get spotted though, and we're getting lovely assistance. We're spotting all of these tanks that are crossing. I don't feel the need to push any further forwards just yet, and there's a T-55 Enigma below us, so I do have to be careful when I fire because there are a lot of tanks this way, but I do have a whole bunch of tanks there located in the G0 location, and hopefully I'll get some more beautiful assistance as we stay in this position. I don't want to move too much because, as with the tree vision system, you are always able to be spotted, and more movement means I'm going to draw more attention to myself, but I'm getting vision out on these enemies towards the south still, as I'm learning to speak still, obviously, after all this time. We're able now to get an ATGM, hopefully into this Stritzfan G.I. Joe Wolverine. We do a nice damage roll there. I'm thinking about firing my 30mm auto cannon. It would draw more attention to us with the shot tracers, as I discussed in the last game. But fortunately, we kind of get spotted, stop me from a little bit of stupidity and drawing attention to myself. We pop our smoke screen. We're going to get re-stealthed. We're going to try and sit behind all of this foliage and maybe get some sneaky ATGMs in now, as these enemies are moving up down the K line towards the south of the map, and we're not going to be able to get as much vision on them as it's going to be shared with the rest of my team. We try and finish off that Wolverine there, and that's the only reason I fired my 30mm autocannon. I wouldn't have done it otherwise, because as I've already said a few times today, it does draw a lot of attention to yourself when you are firing your 30mm autocannon with that rapid fire. It means that people are able to see you with the shot tracers, and they're able to spot you out with the true vision system and take you out. So we're going to come a little bit higher, try and get some ATGMs looping into these tanks towards the south of the map, and we're also going to try and spot, just crest the ridgeline there, spot towards the little town in the centre of this map, and get some spotting assistance on the tanks that are sat in the middle. We spotted that Enigma trying to come underneath the bridge, but we're just going to come up underneath him, get some shots into the rear of him, and he gets taken out by our friendly T-72AV. And now we can head back into the same position, get some crossfire with our team, and push up our already impressive combined damage total. It looks like we're in control of this battle. We're up by 4 tanks. It's now 14 against 10, so there's plenty of hit points for me to get direct damage and also assistance. We spot that AMX-13 SS11 TCA, my favourite light tank in the game, and hopefully with that pretty poor reverse speed on that tank, we were going to get some spotting assistance on him. And now I'm going to come up and see if I can get a side shot into him. Whenever I see a light tank in the BMP-2 or any light tank, I always try and get the enemy light tank out of the game, reduce the enemy team's vision, and that allows me to have sort of full reign of the battlefield in terms of concealment and view range, and it means that I'm less likely to be able to get smacked like we did there with the nasty ATGM on that Leopard, that AMX I should say, 13 SS11 TCA. Very nasty ATGM into us, showing you that, you know, if you play with fire, sometimes you do get burned, especially in this tank with no armour. We're going to loop round, act like we're running away, and then we're going to come in with speed and hopefully finish this AMX-13 off with our 13mm auto cannon. I'm coming in with speed. Hopefully he's not able to react as quickly as me. The AMX-13 doesn't have as good mobility as the BMP-2. He pops back out, and that was his last mistake of this game, and we take him out. Now we are the only light tank left in this battle, and we should be able to use our concealment and our mobility to our advantage. So we're now up to 4.2k direct damage, 3.4k assistance, and there's still 6 enemy players left on the enemy team. trying to get some ATGM chances here, and this T-55 Enigma is reversing. We unfortunately don't get our ATGM far enough back. We hit the composite armor at the front and only do a minuscule amount of damage, but we do get some shells there with the 30mm autocannon. If you're firing at a T-55 Enigma from the side with an ATGM, make sure you aim towards the rear where there is no composite and space protection against heat, HE, and against ATGMs. And now we're going to land an ATGM onto the engine deck of the FV-4-11. And we're just going to sit here behind the foliage, reload, and then go in and hopefully get a little bit of extra damage at the end of the game. We spot a shell tracer there towards our right, and it must be the tank destroyer left on the enemy team. So we're going to go forwards. I'm quite willing, if I do get taken out, at least I'll spot the enemy tank destroyer here and hopefully get some extra assistance. We're going to advance down below this ridgeline, hoping that the enemy tank destroyer hasn't spotted us. And with the concealment that the enemy tank destroyer has, I'm assuming it's an M50 Ontos because I'm not able to detect him as of yet. And it's actually a Stritzfarn G.I. Joe Wolverine there on the ridgeline. He skylined himself. We spotted him on that ridge, and we were ready to quickly snap in some firepower with our ATGM launcher and then subsequently with our 30mm autocannon. So in that game we picked up 6.2k direct damage, 4.3k assistance, finishing second place behind our friendly G.I. Joe Wolverine, who had an epic game picking up over 10k direct damage. But we still got 2 kills and a profit with or without premium account. So that was a very nice combined damage total there in the BMP-2. And now we're going to head on into the fourth and final gameplay, which shows you the game where I finally achieved my third mark of excellence in this tank. So we're now into the fourth and final gameplay of today's video. We're here in the BMP-2, and this is the game where I achieved my third mark of excellence in the BMP-2. So we are on Redshire, a nice open map, and fantastic for getting spotting assistance in any kind of light tank, but especially ones that have good concealment and great mobility. You can crest these ridge lines, do a nice spotting run at the start like I'm doing here towards the north and towards the eastern side of the map, and then we're going to retreat back slightly towards the centre, set on a ridge line, and hopefully get some crossfire and some ATGMs into the enemy tanks. You do have to be a little bit careful doing what I've just done, that spotting run. You don't want to go way too close to the ridge lines because sometimes you do invite the YOLO light tanks to come after you, and they'll chase you until either they die or you die, and it can completely wreck your progress, especially when you're going for marks of excellence. But do a little bit of a sort of semicircle there, spot out towards the start, get a good idea of where the enemy team are going. That's going to help you out as well as your team out and let you know what kind of positions you might be able to pick up in this tank. So we fire an ATGM there at that WZ122. I know that he's got ATGMs that are going to be able to penetrate me as well. I didn't want to sit there and take that much damage at the start of the game, so we fired the ATGM, kept it going in a straight line as we reversed back, and hopefully it was going to fire, but he managed to get out of the way just in time. And now we are just reloading both of our weapons. We've only got 15 direct damage and 194 assistance to start, so a pretty terrible start. But that definitely makes up for the terrible start as we ammo rack that T-72 M1 there. And with that ammo rack, that gave me a little bit of extra sort of push in this battle to feel like it's going to happen this battle. I'm definitely going to do it in this battle. And before I was feeling a little bit deflated, but as long as you hang in there, you keep your hit points, keep your guns in the game, keep your vision, you always have a chance to turn the tide. And now I'm very confident. We come up behind this FV-4-11 as he's turned away from us. Nice easy penetration with the ATGM, and we're going to use our mobility to do figure of eights around these ridge lines, spot out. And whilst we are reloading, we're always moving, trying to get vision out, and we're trying to get our next opponent to take our ATGM. We've noticed this enemy medium tank, the Magak 5s, being surrounded. We were going to go in for an ATGM, but I found sort of gap in the enemy's defences here. I'm going to go towards the north and see if I can spot out what is left in the sort of northwestern corner of this map. There's a T-55 Enigma right in the open. I go for an ATGM there. I went intentionally for the tracks. I wasn't expecting to penetrate. I just wanted to keep that T-55 in place because I'm getting the view range and I'll hopefully be getting the tracking assistance, and any kind of assistance I can get will help, because at the end you only get your direct damage and your either spotting or your tracking assistance, one or the other, whichever's highest. But as long as I get a lot of both, then I'm happy, and I'll let the game decide which one it takes. So we come up behind this Maguk 5 to the side, get some nice 30mm autocannon shots into him, a nice ATGM I believe, and now we're getting chased by this Type 63 HD, an extremely quick tank, but this 30mm autocannon is the light tank counter on the BMP-2. It absolutely shreds other light tanks, and as you saw there, as we were getting chased, we didn't auto-aim. We managed to fire just in front using the free aim of the enemy tank that was advancing on us, and that allowed us to hit pretty much every shell with our 30mm autocannon, and we took out that light tank. And in the blink of an eye, we've managed to pick up enough damage here to get our third mark of excellence as we finish off trying to get a little bit of extra damage in on this FV4211. So not the absolute best game, a few mistakes there, but we kept in the game, kept our gun singing, kept our view range going out, and we managed to pick up just enough combined damage there to take us over the line to get 95.08 on our mark of excellence. So in that game, even though it wasn't the best, we finished top of our team with a profit with or without a premium account, 3 kills, 6.1k direct damage, and 751 assistance. And that was my journey towards the third mark of excellence with all of this gameplay in this series. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. Maybe you picked up a few tips on how to play this tank or light tanks in general, or just enjoyed the gameplay. Thank you all so much for your support throughout the year. It's been absolutely insane. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a happy holiday season. Merry Christmas to you all, and until next time, I'll see you on the battlefield, and bye for now.